Good morning, everyone. My name is Heather Fisher, and I'm the Chair of the Historic Preservation Commission. I'd like to bring the meeting to order. It is Tuesday, July 20th, 2021, 8 a.m. The first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from March 16th, 2021. Any comments?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion approved. The second item on the agenda is the review of Historic Overlay District in the Jefferson Historic Overlay District, 317 University Drive South.
Good morning, Commissioners. The application in front of you is for an exterior remodel located at 317 University Drive South. The applicant, Tom O'Keefe, is requesting to replace the siding on the property with a Dutch lap, white window wrap, a new front door, and repairing brickwork on the north entrance. The property is located within the Jefferson Historic Overlay District. If you have any questions, the applicant is present.
Any comments, questions?
I guess my first question would be, when you or the current owners bought this property, were you aware that it was in a historic overlay district?
Yes.
And there are certain architectural guidelines that are applied in that district?
Yes.
Could you briefly talk about how you believe your proposed remodeling will fit those design guidelines?
Well, I can't, sir, I can't really speak to exactly what those design guidelines are. I'm sorry. I mean, the property itself, I'm looking at that siding. That siding is not the original side. Can't be the original siding on that property. A house built of that generation, I think it was 1927, most likely would have had a much narrower relief on that siding, probably 3 inches. So this is a 1970s remodel on that property, I would guess, with that type of relief on that siding. So we're looking at a 5-inch Dutch lath relief. The major change to that property visually is going to be the door. That door to replace of that shape is pretty exorbitant cost, because we need to go to somebody like Central Door or Fargo Glass and Paint to have that done, because we need to have push button panic relief in order to have housing in that entire property. Prior to us moving in, the old house was used primarily for offices and storage, and we plan to use the entire house for housing men in a recovery program. So that means we have to upgrade the entire property with sprinklers and fire emergency exit doors. So visually from the street, that's probably going to be the biggest difference, is the shape of that door.
So based on your response, I'm assuming that there were no historic photos found from the original, or even?
No,
No, okay.
no.
The second photo, the photo on the right, is it the proposed color scheme?
It is.
So what's the it looks like stucco or concrete behind that?
That's just my desk.
Oh, gotcha.
I was just taking a picture. I don't know if they call it a swatch or a sample.
Is there a color for the window trim?
It'll be white.
Are you going to replace the windows or just repaint them?
Some of the windows are replaced already. We are not planning to replace the windows. It will just be a metal wrap that will go around the windows to give them a white relief. And some of them, because of their age, will probably have to be painted as well.
It would be an easier discussion, I think, if the building actually still looked like in the picture
Yeah.
on the screen. But since you've removed some of the siding in the front and remove the brick around the door.
The brick was falling off, and it created a safety hazard, so we had to take that out.
So what is the new door going to look like?
It's going to be a rectangular door. Metal door painted to match or an accent color to the siding with a window in it.
Are there any panels or a panel system on that front door?
No. You mean panels like side lights, or is that what you're saying, madam?
Side lights or even the implied panels that there's not necessarily side lights in it, but
No.
is it solid?
It's
Just
a solid door, yes.
Okay.
Let me tell you my concern. I don't know what the solution is, but my concern is that the city has established now 8 historic overlay districts. And the purpose of the historic overlay districts is actually, one main purpose is to prevent from happening what has happened to the 3 buildings just to the north of yours. One is dilapidated and has been remodeled inappropriately. One is abandoned and is going to be demolished. And the third has been replaced by an inexpensive apartment building that I think it's fair to say nobody will ever care about. And so the design standards for the historic overlay districts are really important. As a matter of fact, the city of Fargo, as you know, has just adopted a core neighborhood plan for all of the city's core neighborhoods, partly to address the issue of the increasing dilapidation and inappropriate remodeling of buildings that make them things that nobody cares about. And so your house, your building here, is a very prominent building on a very prominent street. It will be seen by thousands of people. And it is the outward expression of your organization, of caring for people, caring for place. And this front door is an integral part and a very important part of the architectural character of this building. And I am concerned about just the changing of that without any consideration of the character and the quality of what is there. Because thousands of people will drive by here and see your organization, and that building is the calling card. It says we care about people that I think in some cases people haven't cared about before. And we care about them as people, and we care about their place, because they've come, I think, probably from places that nobody cared about either. And so I think it's very important that you care about this building and the image that you project to the public. And so I'm really concerned about the effect of changing the front facade of this building in a way that suggests nobody cares about this place. I don't know what the solution is, since you've taken some of the siding off already. It can, of course, be repainted. There is no barrier to doing that. So I will leave there for a moment. For the moment, I just wanted to make those comments about my concern about what you're doing.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, but there's many ways to show how we care about our guests and our building. And prior to us taking this building, this would soon be the 4th building that you would be using as your example of dilapidated buildings in that area. The building's in a total state of disrepair, and to me, this is an opportunity for us to save this building.
I guess piggyback those comments. I do appreciate your attention to, number one, recognizing that, the current siding that's on there is obviously not of the original era. And I'm assuming that the face or the profile dimension is maybe 6 inches or 8 inch.
It'll be 5 inch.
This one, though.
Oh, this one? Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes, at least, yeah.
So making
yeah,
the note that, yes, we are changing it to smaller profile.
Yep.
I think that's much more appropriate. I do have a concern about that front door and also just not having an image of it. Because this is a residential, it was originally a residential building, and maintaining that identity. I know part of the challenge of doing some of these, adaptations is going to be codes, right? What you need for codes, and how that can inhibit some of these changes. I think it is important that this face in particular, if that door is going to happen on the backside of the building, not much of an issue. No one's really going to see that, or at least, the thousands of people going on the 10th, University.
University.
Heading south. But it's a prominent front-facing door, and to just take some more time to think about what that profile could be, rather than it look like a back of the building, looking like your entrance rather than an afterthought. So maybe we could have a discussion about a better opportunity to what we could do with that door. Even the quality of what that door is it still solid?
Yes.
Okay. I'm trying to think right now of ways that we can still use that, because it's, number one, that the quality, you can never kind of replace that. How we can still adapt it to maintaining codes. I
Yeah,
think
the
there's
door,
a way.
The door itself is beautiful. It's
Right.
it's something that you should sell to someone that would restore it. But the frame itself and everything is rotted out underneath it, so there's no really way to replace it as it stands.
What is the construction of the door? Is it a
It's a solid wood door.
solid wood?
Yeah, I think there's multiple vertical panels in it, 6-8 inches wide. I'm not sure what the core itself is, but I suppose opening, look at it, it's just your standard width of a door. But
Is the door that you're looking to replace it with, is it going to be something similar to this, like an industrial type of
Yes.
flat slab door?
yes, with a window in it.
Okay.
And that's probably to achieve a certain rating, right?
Yes, yeah, and the handicapped exit part of it.
You wouldn't be required to maintain a fire rating on a.
Not on the exterior door, but be able to get the handicap out, to push the panic bar out and those type of things for fire safety.
So that, I guess that's another point.
It's going to be an outswing door then, right?
It would be an outswing door.
So that would, unfortunately, I think the profile of that door is the main consideration, and that cornice work around it. And to the point of Paul's and others, the character of the door is that, and to maintain that and be to code, well, it would be impossible, because you'd have to oversize it, or you're gonna have to upsize it.
It has to be custom made.
Well, even as is, you'd have to reframe it, because
Yes.
you wouldn't have the head
Yep.
clearance
Yeah,
from
it's
the
going to
owners.
have to have a metal frame on the outside.
And to Mike's point, you would need to have a reverse swing on it. Again, I'm also spitballing options that we could possibly have some character preserved in the application you're looking to do. You can't maintain this door.
I mean, there are some manufacturers that do make archtop fiberglass doors. Bayard Built is one of those. They're reasonably priced for an exterior door. You can get a wood grain on them. You can stain them. I think that would be a much more appropriate solution than kind of a commercial grade steel door. But they do exist, and they come in standard sizes, 6'8". You can certainly find one of those. So, I mean, there are options for manufactured doors.
The problem with this building and getting a custom manufactured door is the width of the frame. There are
Is it 42?
many layers of sheathing on this building, primarily to make relief for the brick that was on there. So the brick acted as that J channel that you would see on your siding, that the siding butted up against to. So they built the wall out many 3/4 inch layers, according to what you would standard have, just one layer on an old house like this, probably of pine. There's 2 or 3 layers on top of that they built it out to make relief for that brick. So to have the frame has to be custom made to fit in the opening because of the width.
You
I
say
mean,
the width of the wall.
The width of the wall.
The thickness?
Yeah, the thickness of the wall. I'm sorry.
The jam extension could do that.
Yeah, yeah. And you'd have a jam extension on the inside too, because it is an outswing door. You know, and I mean, in theory, you know, because you are removing all the siding or replacing the siding, you know, the opening width could be adjusted slightly to accommodate a standard door. And, you know, these arch-top doors, they are standard. They're not, you know, they don't make custom fiberglass doors because they're molded. So, you know, whereas you went to a wood door, you know, you could get some custom options. But I think exploring or proposing you know, at least a fiberglass wood grain door would be, I'd say, on the path of appropriate.
Is there any consideration to replicating the trim around the door as well?
We hadn't given that. We removed the brick. It was just a cost containing thing because it was going to be so expensive to put that brick back on. The brick was in tough shape and it was falling away from the building.
Yes, to a previous comment, are there any historic photos, or maybe not even historic, but recent photos of that brickwork?
You could probably go on Google Maps, and take a look.
Yeah, it's in the back.
So it is already set up for commercial use.
And there it is. You can see that it is actually yellow back in underneath the evergreen tree there. I'm not sure why the photo came out that color, so it is still the lovely yellow.
And it looks like the windows are already wrapped in a metal material from when the window
They are.
from when the windows were replaced.
Yeah.
You'd just be replacing that with
Yeah,
white.
correct.
Any more questions or comments?
The only work we've completed so far is the repair of the brick on the step, and we raised the level of the window wells a couple of bricks just for water prevention. So, and that was all done in brick matching the existing fireplace. The stairwell or the step on the north entrance was falling apart, so we had that repaired.
Do you know the height of the current door?
I do not.
Maybe I would just like to, I guess, continue on a little bit of the discussion of, what the overlay district is trying to do and why we're, so focused on a measly door, right?
Oh, I understand completely.
And this is more, I guess, for
We grieve this decision as well.
the kind of the general public of, why this is important. I think Paul did a great job of introducing it. I think it would also help us, and this can go for, future meetings and anyone listening in, but for instance, if we are replacing that door, if we have more information, if, we just have the spec and the specification of what you're looking at for that door, the material, it would really, I think, help us even come more prepared with more comments.
okay.
And recommendations. And I think, yeah, some of the recommendations already made and manufacturers, I think are very helpful.
And I, this is a very obviously custom and unique wood door that was made a long, long time ago. So finding a manufactured door that fits exactly that profile is, maybe impossible. So, I mean, the arch top is maybe a suggestion, but I think maybe what we're trying to establish here is we're looking for maybe a proposal that would maybe suggest that, hey, this is an appropriate solution, based on availability, on cost, resources, et cetera. So, just some consideration to the detail work around that specific door. There may be a solution that, a commercial grade steel flat panel door may work with an appropriate detail. So I think that's kind of how I feel about it is not so much the door, but the entire, composition of detail, trim, and door itself.
Does the commission have comments on the brick they'd like to make around the door?
I think whenever possible, we try to maintain the existing character of it
Okay.
to replace it. Obviously, if it's a cost prohibitive option, we need to be cognizant of that, though our task is to
Okay.
continue as Paul was mentioning, the character of the building itself.
Does the commission have concern about the siding itself?
I mean, my comment is I was glad that you recognized in reducing that profile.
Because if possible, I certainly am agreeable to come back with a proposal for the front door, but the beauty of this project is I can leave the front door alone. And I could proceed with the siding on the remainder of the building. Because it's not for a professional sider, that's a half a morning job to come and put the siding on that. But if I could proceed with the siding on the rest of the building and then come back to the commission or the committee in August with some additional information on the front door.
Yes, I would be agreeable with that. I think the siding issue is not the important one here.
Okay.
I think there are a few on this panel that have already made some recommendations and maybe brainstorming a little bit more, coming up with that solution for that door would be helpful. I agree. More comments? Is there a motion?
Yes, I'm just wondering if we
How-
should make a motion. But I think we probably should, so let me move that we request that you come back at the next meeting with a revised plan for the door that maintains the historic character of the building.
Should we include that he can proceed with the?
And you may proceed with the siding as proposed.
Is there a
I would
second?
second that.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay. Motion approved.
So from the city's perspective on a logistic piece with the permit pending the approval of this committee, is that something that we can accommodate?
Yeah, we can take care of that permit after this meeting.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, well, thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much.
Well, the next item in the agenda are liaison reports. Board of Adjustment. Any
The Board of
updates?
Adjustment has not met.
House Moving Board
Has not met.
and the Housing Rehab has not met. Renaissance Zone.
Renaissance Zone met on May 19th with one agenda item, and that was the Epic Gateway East project at 300 Main Avenue. And that is a 7-story building estimated at $31 million. Demolition of the existing building, which was probably built back in the 60s or 70s, should start by the end of the month, as soon as the Frying Pan, I believe is the last remaining tenant, has completely relocated. I think they're transitioning right now.
Okay. Great, thank you. Any other comments? Okay. Well, with that, our meeting will adjourn. Next meeting is going to be August 17th, 2021. Thank you.
Thank you.